Billionaire gave his disabled son only 4 days to live, but his maid changed everything. A billionaire's son has 4 days to live. 15 specialists failed, but a hospital maid sees what money can't buy: hope. When she refuses payment to stay by the dying child's side, an impossible miracle begins. What she does next shocks everyone. Before we dive in, let us know in the comments what time is it and where are you watching from. Let's start. Marcus Whitfield wasn't just wealthy. He was a billionaire. At 48 years old, he had built an empire that spanned 3 continents. Luxury cars, private jets, a mansion that looked like a palace. He had everything except what mattered most: his son, little Ethan, just 18 months old, with bright reddish blonde hair and eyes that sparkled like the morning sun. But those eyes hadn't opened in 3 days. The doctors gathered in Marcus's penthouse office, their faces grim. The lead physician, Dr. Harrison, removed his glasses and spoke the words that shattered a father's world. "Mr. Whitfield, your son has a rare neurological condition. His body is shutting down. We've done everything we can, but I'm sorry. He has 4 days, maybe less." Marcus's hands trembled. 4 days. His billions, his power, his connections, none of it mattered now. "There has to be something. I'll pay anything. 10 million, 50 million, name your price." Dr. Harrison shook his head slowly. "Some things money can't buy, Mr. Whitfield. I'm truly sorry." Marcus sat beside Ethan's hospital bed, watching machines beep and hiss. His son lay motionless in blue pajamas, tubes and wires, connecting his tiny body to equipment that cost more than most people's homes. But none of it was working. Marcus had hired 15 specialists. He'd flown in experts from Switzerland, Japan, and Sweden. He'd offered research labs blank checks. Nothing. His ex-wife, Vanessa, had left 2 years ago. She couldn't handle the pressure of his lifestyle, the constant work, the emotional distance. Now, as their son lay dying, Marcus understood what she'd been trying to tell him. Success meant nothing without someone to share it with. On the second day, while Marcus was making desperate phone calls to another research institute, a woman in a bright blue uniform with a white apron entered the room. She was in her late 20s, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. Grace Thompson, the hospital maid. She carried yellow cleaning gloves and a cart of supplies. But when she saw Ethan, she paused. Her hand went to her chest, and her eyes filled with compassion. "Poor little angel," she whispered. Marcus barely looked up. "You can clean later. I need quiet." But Grace didn't leave. She approached the bed, and in a soft voice, she began humming. It was a lullaby, simple and sweet. Then she did something unexpected. She took off her cleaning glove and gently stroked Ethan's small hand. "Hey there, little warrior. You're stronger than you know." Marcus finally looked up, irritated. "Miss, I appreciate the sentiment, but my son is—" "Listening?" Grace interrupted gently. "He's listening. They always are." Something in her voice made Marcus stop. Grace began coming to the room every shift. She'd clean quietly, but she'd also talk to Ethan. She'd tell him stories about the sunshine, about birds flying, about how the world was waiting for him. One evening, Marcus asked her, "Why do you do this? Talk to him like he can hear you?" Grace smiled softly. "Because he can, Mr. Whitfield. My little brother was in a coma for 6 weeks when I was 16. Doctors said he'd never wake up. But I talked to him every single day, and you know what? He did wake up." Marcus felt something stir in his chest. Hope? Fragile, terrifying hope. What did you do? I loved him, Grace said simply. I held his hand, I sang to him, I prayed. Sometimes that's all we have, love and faith. Marcus scoffed, though it sounded hollow. I've hired the best doctors in the world. Love isn't going to cure a neurological condition. Grace met his eyes. Maybe not, but it might give him a reason to fight. By the third day, Marcus was unraveling. He hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. The chairman of a billion-dollar empire was reduced to a desperate father, powerless and terrified. Late that night, Grace found him in the hallway, his head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Mr. Whitfield, I'm losing him, Marcus choked out. I built everything, so my family would never want for anything. And now I can't save my own son. What kind of father am I? Grace sat beside him on the cold hospital floor, her blue uniform pooling around her. The kind who loves him, that's what matters. It's not enough. Then let me help you, Grace said quietly. Grace made Marcus a promise. She'd stay with Ethan around the clock, off duty, unpaid. Marcus tried to refuse, tried to pay her, but she wouldn't hear it. This isn't about money, Mr. Whitfield. So they kept vigil together. Grace showed Marcus how to hold Ethan's hand properly, how to talk to him, how to massage his little arms and legs to keep circulation flowing. She sang lullabies in a voice that seemed to fill the sterile room with warmth. And slowly, Marcus began to do the same. He told Ethan stories about his own childhood, about the grandfather Ethan would never meet, about dreams and hopes he'd buried under conference calls and stock portfolios. For the first time in years, Marcus Whitfield wasn't a billionaire, he was just a dad. On the morning of the fourth day, the day Dr. Harrison had predicted would be Ethan's last, something impossible happened. Grace was humming softly, her hand on Ethan's forehead. Marcus sat on the other side, holding his son's tiny hand, and then Ethan's fingers twitched. Marcus's breath caught. Did you... Shh, Grace whispered, eyes wide. Wait. Ethan's eyelids fluttered. Once, twice. The machines beeped faster, and then those bright eyes, reddish lashes framing them, opened. Ethan looked directly at Grace, then at Marcus, and he smiled. The hospital room exploded into chaos. Dr. Harrison rushed in with his team after Marcus frantically pressed the call button. Nurses surrounded the bed, checking vitals, examining monitors, their faces shifting from professional calm to stunned disbelief. His brain activity, it's normalizing, one nurse stammered. Heart rate stabilizing, blood pressure rising to healthy levels, another confirmed. Dr. Harrison stood frozen, staring at the monitors. This is medically impossible. But there was Ethan, wide awake in his blue pajamas, looking around the room with curious eyes. When he saw Grace in her bright blue uniform, he reached out his little hand toward her yellow glove. Grace's eyes filled with tears. She looked at Marcus, whose face was a mixture of shock, relief, and something else, transformation. Over the next 6 hours, Dr. Harrison and his team ran every test imaginable. MRI scans, blood work, neurological assessments. They checked and rechecked, certain their initial diagnosis had been wrong, but it hadn't been. Mr. Whitfield, Dr. Harrison said, removing his glasses for the second time that week, but this time in wonder rather than defeat. 3 days ago, your son's brain showed severe deterioration. Multiple systems were failing. What we're seeing now, it's a complete reversal. I've been practicing medicine for 32 years, and I've never seen anything like this. So he's going to be okay? Marcus's voice cracked. More than okay. If these readings hold steady, he'll make a full recovery. It's a miracle, Mr. Whitfield. There's no other word for it. Marcus turned to find Grace, but she had quietly slipped out of the room during the examination. Marcus found her in the hallway, gathering her cleaning supplies to continue her shift. She was crying softly, wiping her eyes with the back of her yellow glove. Grace. She turned, and her face broke into a radiant smile. He's going to be okay. That beautiful little boy is going to be okay. Because of you, Marcus said, his voice thick with emotion. You saved him when 15 specialists couldn't. How? How did you do it? Grace shook her head. I didn't do anything special, Mr. Whitfield. I just loved him. Sometimes that's the medicine doctors forget to prescribe. Let me pay you. Name any amount. No, Grace said firmly but kindly. I didn't do this for money. I did it because every child deserves to be fought for, to be loved unconditionally, to have someone believe in them when everyone else has given up. Marcus stared at this woman in the bright blue uniform with the white apron and cap, this hospital maid who had given his son what all his billions couldn't buy, a reason to live. The doctors insisted on keeping Ethan for observation, but every day he grew stronger. And every day Grace came to visit during her breaks. She'd bring simple toys, nothing expensive, just colorful blocks and soft animals from the hospital gift shop. Ethan's face would light up whenever he saw her blue uniform. Marcus watched these interactions, and something inside him continued to shift. 3 weeks after Ethan had opened his eyes, Dr. Harrison signed the discharge papers. Take him home, Mr. Whitfield. He's completely healthy. It's a medical miracle that will be studied for years. Marcus had arranged for a private car, the best child care specialist, everything Ethan could need. But when he wheeled Ethan out in the hospital wheelchair, just as a precaution for the trip to the car, he stopped. Something was wrong. No, something was missing. Wait here, he told his assistant. Marcus found Grace ending her shift, walking toward the bus stop in her blue uniform, carrying her worn bag. Grace, wait! She turned, surprised. Marcus approached, and for the first time in his adult life, he didn't know what to say. I wanted to thank you, he finally managed. Properly. Ethan wouldn't be alive without you. He's a fighter, Grace said warmly. He just needed someone to believe in him. So did I, Marcus admitted. These past weeks, watching you, learning from you, you showed me what I'd forgotten, what matters, who I want to be. He took a breath. I'm setting up a foundation, full scholarships for people who want to go into medicine but can't afford it. And I'd like you to help me run it, not as an employee, as a partner, if you'll consider it. Grace's eyes widened. Mr. Whitfield, Marcus, he corrected gently. And before you answer, there's someone who wants to say goodbye. He gestured toward the hospital entrance where his assistant was wheeling Ethan out. The toddler saw Grace and his whole face lit up. He started reaching for her, making happy sounds. Grace dropped to her knees, pulling off her yellow cleaning gloves, and opened her arms. And there, on the pavement outside the hospital, the image crystallized. The billionaire in his dark suit, kneeling on the ground behind the wheelchair, his hands on his head in overwhelming emotion, no longer in distress, but in gratitude, in awe, in a kind of joy that money had never brought him. The child with reddish blonde hair and blue pajamas, barefoot and alive, toddling forward with determination, and Grace, in her bright blue uniform with white apron and cap, yellow gloves discarded, kneeling with her arms open and a smile that could light up the world. Ethan reached her and grabbed her hands. Grace lifted him gently, hugging him close, and whispered, "You did it, little warrior. You did it." Marcus stood, wiping his eyes, and looked at this woman who had given him back his son and, in the process, given him back himself. "So," he said, his voice rough with emotion, "will you help me? Help us?" Grace looked at Ethan, then at Marcus, and slowly nodded. "On one condition." "Name it." "You spend every evening with this little boy. No phones, no business. Just you and him. Because that's the real miracle, Marcus. Not that he survived, but that you both get a second chance." Marcus felt tears streaming down his face, and he didn't care who saw. "Deal."